All right, we have five guys up here: Garrett Cole, Spencer Strider, Dylan Cease, Emmanuel Classe, and Joe Ryan. We have all five of these guys paused at the moment in which their front foot has made contact with the ground for the very first time. When that front foot gets into the ground here, we call this foot strike. So when our front foot strikes the ground is where we had paused these guys' videos. At this foot strike position, we want to be able to check off a couple key positions with our body. The first position we want to think about is our belt buckle getting itself rotated and facing our catcher as much as possible. In order to get that belt buckle to be facing the catcher, we need this back hip to have rotated forward. We also need this back knee to have rotated forward. And to help accelerate the back knee and the back hip's rotation, we need to drive through our big toe. And we can see that with all five of these guys, the back hip has gone forward, the back knee has rotated around, and we have driven through the big toe. The back hip has rotated forward, same with the knee, and the foot is driving through the big toe, helping the knee and the hip rotate forward. Same thing with Classe down here. He's driven through his big toe, which helps rotate that knee, which helps get that back hip to rotate, which ultimately gets the belt buckle to face the target. And then same thing here with Mr. Ryan. Everything has rotated forward. What we can also notice and want to check off is that the upper body has separated itself from the lower body. Our shoulders have separated themselves from our hips. And we've said everything with our lower body has rotated to the target. And we just said we want to separate our shoulders from our hips. So our hips going to the target, we need to separate that. So that means the chest, the shoulders, need to continue facing the same way they started. With all five of these guys being right-handed, that means their chest remains facing into third base dugout, while the hips have rotated home. So if we clear all those arrows up and we take each of these guys one by one and kind of make them bigger, we'll watch Garrett Cole in full speed, and then in slow motion we will pause him at that foot strike position. Boom. So again, we want to watch this back hip, this back knee, and this back foot. And we're going to rewind to right before he gets that foot strike to occur. And we're going to watch how this back hip is starting here, the back knee is starting here, and the back foot is still holding its ground on the pitching rubber. And we're going to be able to see how much rotation. Oh, wow, that got aggressive. how much rotation is actually occurring. Boom. 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 Let's take that to our next guy. Spencer Strider. Again, we'll watch it in real time and then in slow motion. We'll pause Strider at his foot strike position. Boom. Okay, we can see back hip is here. Back knee is all the way turned over. Back foot all the way turned over. We rotate, or rather, we unrotate that and we take him back. And we can see when he begins rotating just how much everything gets to rotate forward. Then his foot lands in the ground. Lower body rotates first. Boom. Then the foot gets into the ground at foot strike. We have now successfully separated our lower half, which is facing the target, from our upper half, which is still facing the dugout. The more of this upper lower half separation, or hip shoulder separation, the more of that we achieve, the more power we're going to create, and the amount of stress that gets put on our arm is going to decrease. Let's take this to our next guy, Class A. Again, we'll watch it in real time and then in slow motion. Pause him at foot strike, so boom, there's the foot in the ground. We can see that belt buckle going to that target, while the chest still continues to face third base dugout. How did the belt buckle get to the target while the chest remains in its same position? Well, it's because that back knee rotated forward and we were able to drive through our big toe. We were able to rotate our foot around our big toe, which drives our entire body forward. Drives our entire body forward. The rotation of the knee and the drive through the big toe, the folding over of the foot over the toe, rolling my foot over my big toe, helps get everything to drive forward. And then once the lower body drives forward, now it's time for the upper body to drive forward. Go to our next guy, Dylan Cease. Again, first one will be full speed. And this next one will be slow motion. We'll pause it at foot strike. Boom. We can see that same thing, driving through that big toe, folding his foot over his big toe, extending his leg through that big toe, reaching away from the pitching rubber through our big toe. So that way our back knee can rotate forward, along with our back hip can rotate forward. Boom. Boom. And then, as we can see, boom. Our 3 points of our back leg is the hip, the knee, and the foot. We want to be strong in here so we can send power out through here. Bam. And then once we send that power through with the lower half, now it's time for the upper half. And where's our final guy? Joe Ryan. You guys already know the drill. Starting full speed. And then we'll go slow-mo. Pausing it at foot strike, where we can see again driving through that big toe, rotating that knee all the way down and around, getting that back hip to drive itself forward, which gets the belt buckle to the target, which is our catcher. All meanwhile, our chest, our upper body has separated itself from the lower body. Lower body is going to the target. The upper body is fighting to not do that, which means stay back. So that way, once this lower body creates all this power, now we can send it up to the upper body to send all that power out. All right, what we're discussing next is the front leg. As we see, got this nice, good alignment of the hip, knee, and foot going to our target. Everyone's going to have slightly different angles in their lead leg. All right, but the important part is that we rotate this front leg just like we're rotating the back leg. And we can see that the knees are almost synchronized up, synced up, synced up. That the knees are synced up. When the back knee's rotating, so is the front knee. Everyone's going to come down the mound a little different, but regardless, that front knee, that front foot has got to rotate to our target. Once that foot gets in the ground, we have taken energy and we have sent it down this mound. We have sent the energy from the back foot to the front foot. And now we got to get this energy from the front foot up to our upper body and then out our upper body down that mound. And this front leg is a huge piece of that. We have to make sure that this front leg becomes a firm, fixed point that we can drive over and rotate around. We need to be able to drive our trunk, which is from our shoulders to our hips, our trunk, we have to drive over and around our front leg. We're going to be able to do that the fastest and the most aggressive when this front leg is firm. Just like our front leg gets firm when we swing, we need to be throwing on a firm front leg. More guys than not achieve that firmness in that front leg by taking the leg and locking out, stiffening up, or straightening that leg. So this angle that we have here with Dylan Cease, we'll see straightens out, stiffens up, locks out. And when that leg does that and turns into a firm point, that trunk is able to rotate itself in front of the leg, and then also around that leg. So because that front leg got firm, it stiffened up, it locked out, it straightened up, that allows the upper body to get slammed down, sent down, accelerated forward, as the arm is also then sent down. And then we can finish that rotation around. We'll come over here to Class A and we'll look at that same thing. So here's that angle in that front leg. We need to now be able to get that trunk in front of the leg and then around the leg. So we'll watch and see how it doesn't lock all the way out like C's front leg did, but it is firm. There's firmness there, meaning the knee does not drift forward. The knee, in fact, does some of that locking out, locking out, locking out. Okay. Come up here to Garrett Cole. Front leg angle. This has got to become firm so we can get the trunk in front and then around the front side. So we can see Garrett Cole fully locks that thing out. Starting here, gets to there. And what's that helping? That's helping get the trunk out in front. Out in front. Down the mound. And then ultimately, what else? Around. And then Joe Ryan. Same thing. That angle, that front leg needs to become firm so we can drive that trunk out in front and then down and around. And we can see not a full lockout guy, but a knee is not going to keep drifting forward. So that way it is firm. Now it's locked out. And now I can rotate around it. Around it. Around it. But one of the things we're able to see here is just how out in front through that last part of that ball being in our hands and that first part of that arm turning over into pronation to decelerate, that head to the foot is. That head to the foot is. Head to the foot is. Getting ourselves to rotate out in front. Out in front. Rotate forward. Being able to rotate forward. That's all because that front leg becoming a firm, fixed point that we can drive our chest down to help accelerate our arm out in front. And then we can see the same thing. The Strider is a lockout guy. Stiffening that thing up. Straightening it up. So that way the trunk can get sent forward. Boom. Foot strike, he's here. So as well, we can see getting himself out over that front leg because that front leg became firm. It became a fixed point that we can get out in front of and then also be able to rotate around. All right, so let's now discuss upper body at foot strike here. So again, we're looking at this part of our body. And the first thing we want to think about is our throwing arm. We want to have a 90-ish degree angle in both our elbow and our armpit. We're looking for this glove to be at our chest, straight in front of us to our target. We don't want this glove getting outside of our shoulder. If this glove's getting outside of our front shoulder is going to start to open up, and now we're not going to be able to rotate out in front as well because we'll be tilted and our rotation will be on a slight axis. Again, that chest, like we've been talking about, has not rotated. And obviously, head looking straight over top of our shoulder down the barrel. Pull that our quad view here up with these guys. Get them all back to foot strike. Okay, so as we can see, everyone's glove's in a slightly different position, but the overall theme is what? Glove is in line with chest. Glove is in line with chest. Glove is in line with chest. Glove is in line with his upper body. I don't want to say chest because chest is up here. It's more in line with his midsection. None of the gloves are outside of their bodies. None of their gloves have opened their upper bodies up, and that is why they were able to create tremendous upper-lower half separation. Not just because the lower body rotated itself properly and on time, but it's because the upper body did not rotate with it. And the easiest way for the upper body to start to rotate with the lower body is by that glove swooping outside of our body, swooping outside of our shoulder, which would then start the shoulder to swoop out, which would then start to bring the back shoulder forward, which now starts to make the chest, instead of facing third base dugout, starts to face the on deck circle. So now the hips, which are going this way, and the shoulders were going this way for ultimate separation, now the hips that are facing this way, the shoulders are facing this way. Less separation, which means less velo and extra stress on the arm to make that throw, which is the complete opposite of what we're trying to achieve through our good, clean mechanics. So we can see with that glove in that good position, the glove is just going to hold there as the body rotates to it. The glove will hold there as the body of the backside rotates to it. The glove will hold there as the body rotates through it. The glove will hold there as the body rotates through it. Boom. 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 As long as the lower body takes care of business, leading into foot strike, and the upper body has done its job of staying back, everything just happens on its own. But that's why it's so critical that the lower body does its thing on time. And on time meaning by the time that foot gets in the ground. And doing its thing meaning fully rotated as much as we possibly can. And the upper body does its thing leading into foot strike, which is stay closed. Do not open up. Do not let my glove open my shoulder, and keep my arm loaded back. I don't rotate the throw until after the foot gets into the ground. My lower body rotates to get the foot into the ground. Then my upper body rotates after the foot is in the ground. Now it just becomes how fast, violent, and explosive can I make them?